Children can progress at their own pace, regardless of their ability. One that provides each child the opportunity to make decisions about what they want to know and when to move on to another subject. Imagine a school that teaches with hands-on materials, allowing children to absorb information using all their senses. Imagine a school that is a true community of learners, where children actually teach and learn from each other as well as the teacher, and assume their share of responsibility for maintaining the classroom environment. In the next few minutes, we will visit 3 elementary schools that offer children all of these opportunities. 2 of the schools are urban public schools, and 1 is a suburban private school. But they are all Montessori schools. Come into these classrooms and observe how these schools engage the minds of children, regardless of background or ability. As we watch these children work, we will introduce you to some of the basic elements of elementary Montessori schools, including hands-on materials, self-paced, self-initiated learning, and a multi-age community of learners.
This is big research.
All Montessori classrooms are based on a hands-on approach to learning. The materials that teach math, science,
It's not clipped in well enough here. Do the other map. Yeah.
geography,
Say it again. 45 north, 7 east.
language arts, geometry, and other subjects are carefully designed to appeal to the child's imagination. Rich colors and pleasing textures, thoughtfully assembled, invite each child to take the materials from the shelf.
If you can see something, if you can touch it, if you can feel it, you can hear it, see it, I mean, get your senses involved with it. Of course, it's going to heighten your learning. Any child.
When you can feel these things and know how the exchanges are made and that this is 10 times as much as this and the size is there, and you can feel these things rather than seeing numbers that don't really mean a lot to you at that age. I think that helps a whole lot.
3 times 6.
As the child becomes comfortable with the basics, the materials become increasingly abstract and complex, helping the learner to understand first the patterns of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and building from this foundation to the complexities of squaring and square root, cubing and cube root.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. And there's so many.
And we use that, we're going to have to use that 1, 2, 3 times.
Okay.
These 11-year-olds are tackling a math problem that calls for the addition of the components of a cube. At this level, the materials provide a method for the students to check their own work, as well as a way to visualize the problem in 3
Then
dimensions.
there's 3 cubes.
It just makes so much sense to slowly move kids towards abstraction instead of when we were in grade school, we had to immediately be able to abstract, and some kids got it and some didn't.
Montessori introduces children to geometry beginning in the early childhood years. The repetition encourages children to assume responsibility for their own learning, creating a greater self-confidence as they recognize and correct their own errors. These 2 girls are learning polygons from triangle to decagon. This material helps them to discover the shapes on their own by matching the names to the shapes. When they get stuck, they are able to solve the problem independently without adult assistance through the use of a chart. The parts of speech are represented by symbols in elementary Montessori. Each symbol was chosen to provide cues to the function of each word. For example, a black triangle is used to symbolize a noun. The notion of the verb is introduced with a red ball, full of action and motion.
Is this an action? I'm working.
Now the child can analyze the work of any author, including herself. All genre of literature are explored, read, written, and analyzed for the basics of story structure.
All finished at this point in time? All right, let's see if you have everything. Geometry work. Can you show that?
Children have a natural desire to learn. Teachers trained in the Montessori method build on that desire by structuring projects that follow each child's interests. Each student designs her own lesson plan with her teacher. After developing this work plan, students often pursue a project well beyond what they could in most other classrooms.
It's very interesting because there's just a buzz around the classroom that seems, as a parent, you first wonder how they could get things done in the day, but they just look at their work plan and carry on throughout the day and do a wonderful job of completing their tasks.
They don't have the time constraints that they might have in a traditional classroom, which I think allows them to have a much more relaxed attitude towards their learning. They are not in competition with one another. They are supporting one another. They're learning along with one another. Here, I know this, I'll help you, and you may know this, and you can help me.
We know these are Get down.
In this 9 to 12 class, a boy brought in bullfrogs he had found in a pond over the weekend. Several members of the class created a home for the frogs in an aquarium using pond water. They then embarked on a study of the natural environment of bullfrogs. The pond water was examined under the microscope to observe the one-celled animals the students had studied earlier. The Montessori science curriculum encourages hypothesizing, experimenting, and observation in building a knowledge base.
Dead. He might eat it though. He won't eat the dead one. Yes, he will. He might.
All of the students became fascinated with the skill the frogs had in catching insects with their tongues, and took turns catching grasshoppers and spiders to feed them, prompting further discussion on the digestive and neural systems of the frog. Children thrive in this environment because they are free to work at their own pace. There is no rush to keep up with material that is confusing, no fear of falling behind, no boredom waiting for others to catch up. Montessori students feel relaxed about learning and enjoy each new challenge. Uninterrupted periods of work time is one of the greatest gifts of the Montessori method, resulting in periods of focused, sustained concentration.
You can go as far as you want, as fast as you want. I really like the idea of an independent study because the kids can explore and see how